about building a house in the Kansas City area, but not sure where to even begin? Hey, I'm your girl. I'm Rachel Kilmer, a licensed real estate agent in the Kansas City metro area. I cover the whole city and am licensed on both sides of the state line. And there is a lot to know if you're thinking about building a home. So today we're gonna break it all down to the smallest details and make sure you're prepared for this home building journey. And maybe you'll end this video deciding it's not for you. Either way, let's jump in. If you know you want to build, but you're not sure about the area, that's honestly the best position to come from. If you're sure about your area, then it's more like, this is the area I want to live in. Is there even any approachable new construction in that area? And what I mean by that is to build, you need land. So most new construction in Kansas City is happening more on the outskirts of the suburbs. That's where there's big farmland that's being purchased by developers and turned into neighborhood communities. Closer into the city, that's not to say there's none. There definitely is. There's some builders that are doing teardowns. There's some builders that are purchasing single lots and then kind of custom fitting floor plans to fit on those lots. So you certainly can find new construction in closer to the city. It's just not going to be the like big developments as much and more kind of one-offs and or more luxury custom builds. So you'll want to know where new construction is happening, basically. So one good way to start that is to get with a local real estate agent. So agents will know, oh, this subdivision has new construction coming. This one has it underway. If you're not ready to take that step, you can hop on a website like Zillow or even my website, RachelRealtorKC.com, and filter through the listings and filter out everything that's not new construction, not resale. It's like limit it to just new construction. Then you'll get a feel for what areas it's happening in. But a lot of times builders don't have their listings all completely updated because there's just so many options. Even if it's a typical neighborhood where you can build one of 3 floor plans, they still have 50 to 100 lots to choose from. So they're not going to put 50 to 100 listings in there, if that makes sense. But at least gives you an idea. And then you can go start driving those neighborhoods, seeing what makes sense. And don't be afraid to pop in model homes as well. If the builder has finished homes that they haven't sold yet, they'll typically make them a model home where you're able to walk in and just look at it at your leisure. A lot of times they're open on the weekends and sometimes they're open on the weekdays as well. If you happen to be thinking about this or searching around the time of the fall or spring parade of homes, that is a phenomenal time to get a feel for what's going on in new construction, who's building where. It's Parade of Homes. If you just Google it, it's put on by the Builders Association. And you'll get a map. I actually really like the app. You can hop on the app and just click and go drive around and see lots of new construction. So those are some good ways to get a feel for where new construction is happening. And that kind of narrows down to the next category, which is financing a build job. So financing a build job or new construction can be kind of tricky. That's because there's kind of several different ways you can go with it. If you are doing a custom build, typically you're going to need a construction loan. This is generally if you have purchased the lot or it's a raw piece of land that you're going to purchase and then you're going to build on it. In that case, typically you have to carry the construction costs and then you contract in the builder to build for you. These can be tricky to get approved for and they typically require at least 20% down. So you need to have more cash up front, which we'll get more to what cash you need to have on hand to build just a little bit later. But that's a construction loan. You may want to know about a land loan. If you haven't already purchased the land, then you may have 2 types of loans. And then once the home is finished, then you convert to just a regular old-fashioned mortgage. If you are buying a home in a subdivision or in a development where the builder has already purchased the land, typically you don't have to mess with a construction loan. Usually what happens is you'll have a traditional mortgage right from the front. Basically, you just show the builder that you're pre-approved for your mortgage. The builder carries the loan until closing, and then at closing, you put a normal mortgage on it. So that is something important to know. A really hot tip on this is if you do go into a model home and talk to a builder's agent about building a home, they will refer you a lender that the builder prefers. Always get a second opinion on what they're offering, even if they're offering to cover some closing costs for you. Truly, it does you a disservice to not compare at least a couple of lenders and make sure you're getting the best possible deal. The last category here, as we're learning all about new construction in Kansas City, is important details to know. So yeah, kind of a catch-all category, but there's a lot of little things that are different and unexpected about building a home. I mentioned this a little bit ago, but the cash you need to have on hand up front with new construction can vary widely and can be a lot different than if you're just purchasing a resale home. One of the reasons, like I mentioned, is sometimes you need 20% down to do a land loan or a construction loan, or if there's anything weird and funky about the type of loan you're doing. So that's one big chunk of change that you could potentially need. But even if you're doing a traditional build job in a subdivision, the builder already bought the lots, it's kind of standard finishes and selections, builders can still require certain amounts of earnest money. So earnest money is money that you put down right at the beginning when you go under contract. And in new construction, it is almost always non-refundable, meaning that money is gone and it will either apply to your home or be gone. So make sure you're sure about closing the deal if you put earnest money down. But the required range can vary anywhere from like 3 to 10% down, even more sometimes. It really depends on how many customizations you're doing and the builder's perceived risk of selling the home if you do cancel is kind of why they require a range of earnest money. But that's something to really know up front, because I've had a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I really want to build a house. And so we go start looking, and then I bring up required earnest money and they look at me like deer in the headlights because they were thinking they could put $1,000 or $2,000 down like you can on a resale. And that's just usually not the case. So that's something really important to know is the upfront cash you need to have on hand. Ask your agent, ask the builder, depending on whether you're looking on a complete custom build versus a spec home and everything in between. It varies a lot. Another important detail to know is timelines and delays and how all that works. So building a home, it takes a lot of time. Delays can happen. They can happen due to weather. They can happen due to supply chain issues. They can happen due to subcontractor availability, meaning a lot of builders are having a hard time having enough people to physically build the homes. So there's a lot of reasons your home can be delayed. So I would say go into it with an open mind. When you have a date on your contract, when you first sign it, that is a target closing date. So do not book a moving truck for that date. As you get closer, it'll get more and more confident. The builder and your agent will get more and more confident in what your closing date actually will be. So just to kind of give you an idea of some timelines, if you're building just like a standard basic spec home on a slab, otherwise known as like a basic patio home, those can go up in as quick as 90 days if the permits have already been pulled. It's literally just a slab of concrete and then the framing goes up from there. So those can go up really fast. On the other extreme, if you're building a completely custom luxury home, that can take upwards of 14 plus months. I would say the average timeline for a build job is probably somewhere around 10 months. But again, it can vary a lot depending on your builder, depending on what you're building, depending on the time of year, all of that good stuff. So that's something to keep in mind, and definitely make sure that you're getting realistic timelines from your builder up front and setting those expectations with yourself accordingly, especially if you have a home to sell, so that you don't end up homeless in between your home and your new construction home. And that's something that a real estate agent can help you strategize, and something that I really like to work on with my clients. The last detail is really a lot of little details, and that is customization and upgrades. So one of the reasons that a lot of people want to build is because they have this vision for what they want their home to look like. For some people, it's like they really want barn doors, and other people, they really want subway tile backsplash, whatever that may be. Well, again, this varies really widely from builder to builder and price range to price range, and even neighborhood to neighborhood in terms of how much you actually can customize. The builders that are on the lower end, generally speaking, the lower price range, have to keep their costs down. And one way they do that is limiting customizations. So typically those builders are going to have, 3 or 4 floor plans you can pick from, and then 3 or 4 palettes. And they'll literally bring out a board and show you like, here's palette 1, here's palette 2, here's palette 3. And if you like the flooring on 1 and the tile on 3, that's too bad. You have to pick which one you want. So that's kind of the extreme end. So if you're thinking you want to build because you want to make custom selections, that's something to communicate to the builder, to the agents right up front, because that may just kind of cross off that price range for you. In more the middle price range, builders typically give you an allowance for everything. So when they write the contract, they have built-in allowances for all of the finishes. So they'll have like, $3,000 in light fixtures, $2,000 in tile, $6,000 in flooring, whatever the allowances are. And then you go to a flooring store, a decor store, something like that, and sit down with an interior designer. And then you could pick literally anything in the store. But if you go over that allowance, then that's going to be added to your sale price, or you may have to pay out of pocket right at that time to pick it. So it's really important to tell the person that you're working with, the interior designer, or if you have an agent with you, please only pull things for me that are actually within budget, within the allowance. And then hopefully you can find something that you love in that allowance. But If the reason you're building a home is because you want that marble tile floor, it's going to be out of budget, but that's kind of the whole purpose you were building. So I'd just be ready to write a check for that. If you're doing a full-on custom build, this is where we're kind of getting into higher price ranges. Really, the world is your oyster. You can pick whatever you want. But something to keep in mind with that is then it becomes like a full-time job. So you are making selections all the time. Tier 1, where it's a lower price point, it's you pick once and you're done. Middle tier, a little more. You might have to go to one place for light fixtures, one place for appliances, so a little more work. The top tier, sometimes it's all on you. The builder's like, here you go. You wanted to custom build a house. What do you want? And so it can be a good idea to hire an interior designer to help you with that process, or just defer to the builder and say, build me what you like. In that price range, then the price can really get out of hand because you don't really have anyone holding you accountable to budgets or allowances when you're able to just kind of have a free-for-all in the tile store. It is fun though. So if you have the budget and you want to do that, call me. I'd love to help you. I love to spend your money. One last detail on this is there's something called change orders. Almost every builder has a change order fee, and this can range from $250 to even like $1,000. And they charge that every time you change something after you go under contract. So once you make those selections, once you kind of send in the paperwork on the first contract, or maybe they give you 2 weeks to go pick out whatever selections, then you're done. You've signed it and it's official. So if you then go back to the builder and say, I know I picked the black faucets 2 weeks ago, but now I'm thinking I really want brass, they'll say, okay, we have a change order. And that potentially can delay your whole timeline. So if you're someone that's really indecisive on decisions, keep that in mind. That's like cha-ching, cha-ching. Every time you make a change, that's a change order fee that you could have spent on actual things for your home. So that's a really important detail to keep in mind. Lastly, you may be wondering where to start. I want to build. I don't even know where to begin. Hi, I would love to help you. So a lot of people think they don't need a real estate agent when they're building new construction. And I think that can be okay for some people, but it also can be a huge mistake. And the reason why is the builder's agents have a super important job, and that job is to represent the builder's best interests and help them make the most money, help keep them profitable, help keep them in business. That is their job. That is who they work for, and that is a great thing. But if you go to them to build your house, they are looking for the builder's best interest, not yours. That doesn't mean they're going to be unethical, but it just means when they're making decisions or they're advising, they're thinking about the builder's bottom line, not necessarily yours. If you have your own buyer's agent, then you have someone in your corner that's saying, well, I know the builder really wants to sell this lot, but when you go to sell it someday, it's not going to be as valuable as that lot over there. And kind of giving ideas and input about, return on investment, selections. An agent can help you with selections. An agent can help you negotiate lots of things, sale price for one. But one thing that I negotiate for new construction a lot is earnest money. How much is required? Can we stagger the payments on it? Can we compromise on this? If you have someone in your corner to ask those questions, it's really helpful. If you're worried about paying a buyer's agent, something to keep in mind is a lot of times the builders have already budgeted for and accounted for a buyer's agent commission in their sale price of the house. So if you don't use your own agent, then the listing agent may or may not be just making more money rather than someone that the builder's going to spend the money either way. So you might as well have your own person in your corner. All of it's negotiable. All of it's a case-to-case basis, but it does not hurt to call someone that knows what they're doing with new construction and make sure you're getting the right advice and you have someone walking you through this whole process, because it can be a really big undertaking and really emotional, but also really exciting. Building is super fun, and it really is a great way to kind of reflect your own personality in a home. So I would love to help you with that. If you have any questions about new construction in Kansas City, comment, send me an email, send me a text, and we'll be happy to catch up. Until then, I'll be giving you the scoop on all things Kansas City right here on YouTube. See you next time.